joined by Zubair Iqbal. He's a scholar with the Middle East Institute here in Washington. Zubair, thank you so much for joining us. Modi says India's recent moves will help Kashmir economically. Is he right?
Well, it all depends how you look at it and from which point of view. As far as we can see on a very objective level, as long as there is violence in the region and as long as there's conflict between people and the occupying forces, there is no possibility of investment taking place in the region, let alone foreign direct investment. And that has been shown over the last 10 years or so. In fact, it's very interesting to look at a number which people tend to overlook, and that is a very strong positive or negative correlation between violence and the number of tourists coming into the country. For example, in 2010, when the number of people killed in violence was about 32, there were 12.5 million tourists that came in. In 2017, when the number of killed was 332, the number of tourists fell down to less than 5 million. And that's the important thing. As long as there is violence, as long as there is occupation, it's unlikely that any investment will go in, domestic or foreign, and tourism sector, which is perhaps the most important sector of the economy, will continue to decline.
What's been the immediate impact on the economy and on the economic way of life of the people there in Kashmir?
Well, it's a total clamp down. The economy is completely closed. Nothing is moving. And the result and the consequence of that is that essential services are not available anymore. People are unable to even access the hospitals when they fall sick. Their own limited resources are sharply being reduced. And very soon, many of them are going to be in a situation where they'll have no income, no money left to be able to survive on. And there is no alternative available at this moment for them to earn their income, given the fact that unemployment rate, which was about 17% last year, has already gone up to 29% and is rising.
And what about small and medium-sized businesses, say mom and pop shops that rely on stock?
They're closed down. And the reason is very simply the following. There are no tourists. With no tourists around and the hotels and everything else closed down, the mom and pop stores and all of the service activities have come to a standstill. There is no employment.
For Kashmiris who aren't happy with what's happening, those who don't want to be a part of India, what options do they have?
Good point. I mean, this is a major problem, and this is essentially something that globally must be solved. It hasn't been addressed. It needs to be addressed. The question really boils down to is, what do people want? We need to know, what do the Kashmiris want? This imposition on them has been done externally, and the state has been eliminated and turned into 2 union territories, and they'll be ruled from New Delhi. In other words, there is no role for the people in the region. They have to decide for themselves.
And if India's courts allow this move to go forward, what can the Modi government do to attract foreign direct investment, specifically into Jammu and Kashmir?
Well, in order to be able to attract investment into a place like Jammu and Kashmir, you have to provide security, stability, and a return. Neither of those things is possible as long as there is violence.
And what about the other side of the line of control? We're talking a lot about the Indian-controlled side. What about Azad Kashmir, the Pakistani-controlled side? What about the economy there now?
Well, that economy was not so dependent upon the transit trade with the Indian-occupied Kashmir. So they're not being affected by that. They have their own challenges which relate to the slowdown of global economy as well as slowdown of the Pakistan economy. But that's a different matter. It has nothing to do with what's happening across the border.
One of the principles that we've seen in the Trump administration's approach to foreign policy is sometimes that you can throw money at a problem to fix it. Is there a way to throw money at Kashmir to fix that situation?
No. If it had been possible, it would have been done by now, because a lot of money was thrown at Kashmir along with armed forces. Nothing happened. What is needed is get the people involved, give them the right to choose for themselves as to where do they want to be and what they want to do, like any other country or any other occupied territory would like to do. It's as simple as that.
Zubair Iqbal from the Middle East Institute, thank you for joining us.